Big 12 this morning, Sirius XM, channel 375. I'm Ari Semke along with Dave Archer, former Iowa State and Atlanta Falcons quarterback. Big 12 this morning, Sirius XM, channel 375. Let's talk with RJ Young, friend of the program. RJ Young Show, Tulsa sports animal, and a part of OU 24/7. Good morning, RJ. How are you?
I'm good, brother. I like that friend of the show. I really like that. That's good.
Appreciate you. All right, so a 2-0 start, not much of a surprise there, but certainly people were surprised by Jalen's performance to start the season against Houston. I mean, what are you seeing that's maybe different with Jalen Hurts that we haven't seen with Baker and Kyler?
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel? Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
Oh, man. It's the running ability, right? That's it. You know, you got a linebacker or running back, depending on how you want to look at it, playing quarterback. And it's really not that he's taking off to run all the time. It's just there. And my worry with him is the dude doesn't know how to slide. Like, Kyler knew how to slide. Baker knew how to get out of bounds. Jalen just kind of rolls around for a little while. And, you know, it's like somebody yelled stop, drop, and roll at the kid, and he's, you know, putting the fires out. Outside of that, you know, a lot of fun to watch, man. I mean, he's got more yardage than like 69 FBS teams. It's just remarkable and funny. Also, 2 games.
Well, it's fun to watch, RJ, in the fact that we talked about how will this OU defense accentuate his abilities, and obviously what you just said is part of it. And then the stable of running backs that have been able to run the football. You run to the tune of 310 yards rushing per game, and then you're averaging 32 and a half minutes of time of possession. I mean, I think everybody equates Oklahoma to quick strike, big play offense, and they're still doing that, but they're also bludgeoning you to death with a run game that's averaging another, 50 yards a game than they did a year ago.
Right, and a lot of this is South Dakota, right, which is an FCS opponent and a bad FCS opponent. They put up 733 yards against them, and the guy that was fourth on the depth chart was their first 100-yard rusher at running back all season because he played half the game. But it's the time of possession, I think, is, you know, it's fickle because OU's been really bad with penalties offensively, and they put the ball on the ground a couple of times already. You get the left side of the line, it needs some work. You didn't start Marquise Hayes, who was starting left guard against South Dakota because you didn't have to. But still, 12 penalties for 96 yards against that opponent shouldn't happen. And you got to remember, like, the first drive of the season, they went 40 seconds. They went 61 yards. I mean, they can quick strike if they want to, but the way you're going to see it this year is not Kyler Murray or Baker Mayfield throwing 60 yards through the air. It's going to be Hurts hitting 14 yards, 15 yards over the middle, and the yak, man, because the wide receiver group out here might be the most talented that's ever been at Oklahoma. Like, top to bottom, from seniors to freshmen, they're just good because they'll take that little intermediate route and go 50 yards with it because they have that kind of speed.
RJ Young is joining us, Big 12 this morning, Sirius XM, channel 375. You know, defensively, how much can you learn or gauge from these first 2 games? Maybe more so from Houston, since De'Ara King is certainly a Heisman candidate and put up 50 touchdowns in 10.5 games last year, but South Dakota not as much. I mean, what have you gauged? What can you gauge defensively from this team here in year 1 under Alex Grinch?
I like the scheme. I like the scheme when it was brought in. I mean, they call it a 3-4, but it's really a 4-2-5, depending on how you want to look at it and how they line up that rush in. They get a lot of flexibility from him and from the nickel player. But the thing that you notice is blindingly obvious. Nobody looks at the sideline to see what the call is. All right, everybody knows what they're supposed to do. They know what their call is based on the alignment. At max, they have 3 calls that might be inside of 1 play. But even then, they say, look, we see the alignment and we know what the call is right away because you only have so many responsibilities here. Even at a position where you're asking a lot like nickel, because that guy is a hybrid linebacker, he's a safety, he's a corner, he's a defensive end, depending on whether you want to line him up. And I think they're getting a lot out of moving guys that we might have looked at as traditional defensive ends into the interior. I'll give you an example. A guy like Jalen Redmond, who is 6'3", about 260, was playing like a 7 technique last year, right? This year, he's in at a 3 and sometimes even a 2-eye. And they're going, no, we're going to get skinnier, we're going to get faster, we're going to get more athletic because Redmond is strong enough to take on your guard and your center and split them. So you keeping your linebackers clean because they don't know what to do with those guys up front. And then guys like Kenneth Murray Jr. can run around and make plays. I like the scheme, and I think it can be sustained during Big 12 play.
Yeah, I agree with you, RJ. I think their ability to play fast and play to the strength of their athleticism defensively certainly has been very evident in the first two games. RJ Young with us here on Big 12 this morning talking OU football. 6 for 24 of the two opponents combined on third down. I love winning, the moments where guys are lined up in the proper place or doing the things they're supposed to be doing, and you win on third down. Just 25% conversion on third down, only 6 conversions in 24 attempts on third down. That says a lot about organization, RJ, and what Alex Grinch has got them lined up and prepared to do.
100%, Dave. I mean, I think you hit on it with the athleticism because college football is a bunch of unskilled labor, right? So you're depending on your talent to just kind of go do stuff. And especially at Oklahoma, where you have more tweeners than you have guys that actually slot into a position, you're going to have to say, hey, we got a bunch of guys that are between 6'2" and 6'4" that weigh between 220 and 260 pounds. What can we do with them? And a guy that like Ryan Jones, who was recruited to Clemson to play wide receiver, comes to Oklahoma to play safety, outgrows the position at 6'2", 233 to play Sam last year, playing inside this year. And then they had him with his both hands on the ground playing a 7 technique and then started sliding into a 5. And I'm going, what are you doing, Alex? And he's going, hey, I just want to get fast guys out there because that's what I got a bunch of. And then you mentioned third down stops. My goodness, it went like, I want to say it's 2 months before Oklahoma got a third down stop last year. So that has been just a remarkable turnaround. And getting stops to start the season and getting takeaways to start the season, just not something that you're used to seeing from an OU defense. Now, they're not great, but you don't need to be great at Oklahoma. You just need to be good enough to give you an opportunity to win the Big 12 championship and get back to the college football playoff.
Were you rooting for the Big 12 or for the SEC when Texas played LSU?
I mean, can both teams lose? Is that okay? No, I mean, look, I love the game, right? It was a really good game. I thought Sam Ehlinger showed us a lot. I thought Joe Burrow showed us more because I thought that Orgeron was going to, clam up and say, no, 2 tight end sets. Let's run the ball. I don't like this. This is a shootout. I don't do shootouts. And then Burrow says, nah, it's cool. I got it. 471 yards through the air, 31-38. Goodness me. But, look, I thought Texas was going to get run in this game. Like, I picked LSU. I picked them to cover. But my goodness, did I see some moxie from those kiddos. And I'm excited to see them play the rest of their Big 12 schedule. Now, we'll see what that means for the Red River rivalry because you wanted them to be undefeated, right? Going into that game, you wanted it to be a big game. But at the same time, hey, look, LSU's really good. And maybe they go into Tuscaloosa and they get a W. I love the game.
So, RJ, can Jalen Hurts maintain, and obviously we know they're going to ramp up significantly who they're going to play once they get into Big 12. He's completing 83% of his passes. He's only had 7 balls hit the ground in 41 attempts. I mean, it's unbelievable. The record, the NCAA record, by the way, is 70.4%. Colt Brennan, the Hawaii quarterback, set the record. Can we expect Jalen Hurts, with the way they're running the ball, and that makes it tough on defenses, to be able to complete this high percentage of passes each and every week?
No. Look, I mean, Kyler Murray was sitting at like 70.2 until the Orange Bowl, right, where his percentage went down to like 69 because he was so bad in that game. You're also talking about the passer rating, right? Because Jalen Hurts' passer efficiency rate is like 249.2, which is like 50 points ahead of the record Tua set last year just in front of Murray. And the issue I have is Hurts still isn't as accurate as I want him to be, but that's because I've been watching Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray throw footballs, right? He still airmails passes. He still misses guys. Guys still have to go and make catches rather than him putting the ball on them. And yeah, they're going to run the ball well, but you got to remember, he has rushed for 223 of those yards. So I think they're going to be 55 to 60% run heavy, but I also don't think that he's just that great a passer. He might not get any better, but you don't need him to get that much better, right? You just need him to not put the ball on the ground. He's already done that a couple times. But yes, the numbers are stupid. And Lincoln was asked about that. He's like, look, he was asked in Big 12 by the same fella. Barry Tremble asked him, hey, I assume your offense is going to take a dip. Lincoln says, I don't expect the offense to take a dip. You get what you got, which is like 1,400 yards of offense in 2 games. And then in this, going into the UCLA game, he asked again, hey, can Jalen Hurts keep this up? He's like, I don't see why not. And if anybody knows about quarterbacks and offense, it's that guy. I play the numbers, man. I mean, I'm a gambler, and I'm not willing to put it on Jalen Hurts to complete 70.4% of his passes. But you know what? I've been wrong before.
Hey, RJ, I got to ask you before we let you go here about Kyler Murray's performance, namely in the second half and in overtime to bring his team from behind. I thought it was showed a lot of guts, a lot of pressure on the kid. They didn't play overly well in the first half or well at all in the first half, but really played like the kind of kid you saw last year at OU in the second half. Talk to me about what you saw from Kyler Murray in the Carolina or in the Arizona game.
Dave, as a quarterback, right, you're looking at this guy and his face doesn't change. And his face never changed when he was at Oklahoma either. But, like, I'm thinking about myself watching this game, and I would have been constipated, because, like, you've been playing terribly, and then you're down, and it doesn't feel like you're going to do anything. And you want to throw the season out in the first game. And what does Murray do? He puts the team on his back. He goes like 20 of 28 for, like, 187, somewhere in there. And I was looking going, Cliff, do you remember that you don't get the ball back? This ain't college overtime. Don't punt. But look, you saw the moxie, right? Because I think that's the part of Kyler Murray's game that we don't talk enough about is just how unfazed he is by anything that's going on around him. He's just not a rah-rah guy, but he's also not going to get down on himself because the team's playing poorly. He's going to go out there and he's going to play. So watching him just mature through the game in one game, think about what he's going to be able to do over the course of a 16-game season.
RJ Young, make sure to follow him on Twitter. Check out his YouTube page. Listen to his show on the Tulsa Sports Animal. And read his stuff for OU 24/7. Appreciate your time, RJ. Be well, man. Have a great show today.